Welcome back to FITMAS with Flexis. So today we're going to be talking about how you should be setting your New Year's resolutions. And these are all things that I do in order to stay in shape all year round, but also for other goals in my life that are related to personal goals, family goals, financial goals. So they're really useful tips that apply to many things in your life. So what we're going to be discussing are three key things that all build up on each other. So they're building blocks that sit one on top of the other. So you'll want to make sure that you stay all the way till the end to know how to create your resolutions and keep your resolutions going. So the first thing is that you need to set a goal. So when setting a goal, there are a couple things that you need to keep in mind, but the first important thing for you to do is you want to figure out your why. So your why is your purpose. It's what's going to motivate you to go and accomplish that goal. So in a video that I posted the other day, it's called How to Get and Stay Motivated. I go more in depth about how to find your why. So you'll want to go watch that video after watching this video. I'll post the link to that video in the description below. So since we're talking about health here, there are three types of goals that you're going to have in mind, or you should have in mind. So the first one would be nutrition related. Then the other one would be fitness, exercise related. And the last one should be mental health related. So if we take a look at the first one, nutrition, and if you're just starting off with this, your goal is going to be along the lines of, I want to make healthy choices, which is great. That's a great way of thinking. But how are you going to do this? So with clients that are just starting off with making healthier nutrition and exercise choices, I tell them to look at it this way. So you're typically eating 3 meals a day and plus snacks. So if you look at that in a span of a week, that would be 21 meals a week. So a good thing to do is to give yourself a number of how many meals you're actually going to make healthy. So obviously you're going to try to be healthy in general all around, but this number of meals, you're really going to eat healthy. So I like to start off with 15 meals a week. So 15 out of 21 meals a week are going to be healthy meals. And by doing this, you're setting a number for yourself, and you don't have to look at it away, oh, like I screwed up, I didn't eat a meal, because at the end of the month, you'll get to look back and say, wow, I accomplished my goal. I ate 15 meals a week that were healthy, and now next month, I'm going to build up on that. What you're doing today is going to help you in the long run to stay on the path towards your goal. So now let's take a look at fitness. So if you're just starting off, a good number to exercise per week would be 3 times a week, because that's the bare minimum that you need in order to actually see results. Now, by setting this goal of working out 3 times a week, you're giving yourself a bit of leeway as well, because sometimes life gets in the way, and if some weeks you only work 2 times a week, at least you're going there and you're getting in the gym and you're making that change towards your goal. So it's a great way to start off, and it's a great minimum number for you to keep in mind when writing down your fitness goal. So the last type of goal that you should be thinking of making is a mental health goal. Now, this is not typically something that a lot of people think about, especially when they're starting off fitness, because it's not related to your physical goals. But mental health is such a big aspect in your health and wellness. So it's really important to set a goal for that. Now, something that I started doing recently is I take 10 to 15 minutes a day, typically before I go to bed, to think about what I've accomplished throughout the day. Because we're our biggest self-critics. And with social media in the picture in today's society, we constantly compare ourselves with what other people are doing, whether it's success related or whether it's appearance related. It's constantly in our faces. But that's a topic for a different time. But back to this, you want to make sure that you're talking nicely to yourself. So a way to do that is, like I said, before you go to bed at night, take some time. Disconnect from your phone, your computer. Just sit there and think about, what did I accomplish today? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? That's okay too. You need to that's part of self-reflection. How was I towards other people? But most importantly, think about nice things to say to yourself. Because that will not only make you a better person towards other people, but will also make you a better person towards how you talk to yourself. And another thing is to think about that it's not what you do today that's going to make a difference, but you just need to realize that you're on the path to success. You just need to keep on reminding yourself of everything that you've accomplished so far. Okay, so now that we looked at our 3 types of goals and found our why we're going to do these goals, we have to look at how we're going to accomplish them. How are we going to hit these goals? So we have to set habits for these goals. So something that I suggest doing is, as you're writing down your goals, you'll want to set 3 habits for each of those. And you'll want to make sure that all these habits are attainable. They have to be realistic. So that's why in the example for nutrition, I suggested looking at it as a way of saying I'm going to eat 15 healthy meals per week, 15 out of 21 meals per week. Because this is a good way of looking at it because it's realistic. You're not going to feel discouraged. And it's also giving you some room to be a bit loose with it. And that's what makes it a positive habit. So for each goal, you'll want to list 3 habits that are attainable. So now the next thing that you'll want to do when creating good habits is to make sure that they're specific and measurable. So if we look at nutrition, the example that I gave, I picked the number 15 meals out of 21 meals per week. So this gives me specific numbers of meals per week that I have to healthy to attain my goal. So that way, after each week, I can look back and see if I attained my goal. So this keeps me on track. Now, how do you measure that though? So you want to make sure that you're tracking everything. Now, this applies more if you're just starting off with nutrition, just again, the good habit. But once you get used to eating properly and being more intuitive with your eating, you don't necessarily have to track everything. But a way to track it is by writing down what you eat or taking a picture. That's an easier way, and you can visually see what you ate. So for example, when you're eating an unhealthy meal and it's, like you have given yourself some leeway through the week to eat an unhealthy meal, but if you know you're past that unhealthy meal and you look back and you see that picture, you don't feel so good about yourself. So by tracking it, it holds you accountable. Another thing that I like to do is for each month, I print out a calendar. And on this calendar, each day I have 2 colors. So I either have green, which means that I attained all my goals for the day, or red, which means that I didn't hit all my goals for the day. So at the end of the month, I could look back, and if I have a lot of green check marks, I give myself a pat on the back because I know I did well this month. And if I have a lot more X's, then that wakes me up and it realizes that I need to push myself in order to attain my end goal for the month next month. So these are all great ways to make sure that you're being specific with your habits and measuring them as you go along. So the third and last building block is staying consistent. So this is your New Year's resolution. So it's going to be new behaviors, new habits that you're creating. So it's important that you're making them time specific. So even though that you want to keep these new habits for over a long term, you want to make sure that you're taking baby steps and that you're tracking them over a certain amount of time to make sure that you keep on hitting them. So that's why I gave the example of picking 15 out of 21 meals per week. Because at the end of the month, you'll get to look back and see how many meals in the whole month that you ate that were healthy. And if you feel happy with how many meals you had that were healthy and you feel like you're ready to move on and increase that amount of meals for the next month, great. You could build up on that goal and you're creating that long-term habit. If you feel like, oh, I'm not comfortable with how I did, I'm not ready to move on, then that's fine. The next month, you keep working towards eating those 15 meals out of 21 meals per week. So this is super important because by doing this, you'll be working towards making those habits natural. And that will really allow you to keep it for a long term. So the idea behind doing all of this is that it becomes natural and that you start doing these things without realizing why you're doing them. So that's important because we don't only want to be doing them for the short term, but over the long term. So that's why you want to start off by thinking about your big goal and figuring out your why, because remember, your why is what's going to push you to actually go and attain that goal. But then in order to get more consistent with it, you have to create habits. And these habits need to be attainable because once again, you don't want to only keep on doing these habits over the short term, but you want to keep them over the long term. So by creating attainable habits and by tracking them, you'll make sure that you stay on the path towards accomplishing your goal. And that's why you want to make sure that you're doing all this because we don't want you only succeed short term, but we want you to keep on going long term. So if you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up and also share it with some of your friends because remember, these aren't only tips that apply to fitness, but they can apply to many aspects in your life and they're super important to realize in order to create and keep your New Year's resolutions goals. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I'll have a new video posted every day, and we're gonna keep on going with the FITMAS series until Christmas. So I'll see you tomorrow.